Emergency access.
Good afternoon, this is Sheldon Betteridge here on today's show. We will be um digital lockdowns boycott only to be used as a last resort. Phil said first is all gonna come up after I play Luke Holmes. The kind of love we make on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM.
We've been burning both ends, keeping the lights on. So I've been thinking we need a little time alone. So would you say we cancel our plans? Tonight I'm only gonna be your man. Let's get some candles burning and some records, turning all the lights down low. Take it nice and slow. The way your body's moving, keep doing what you're doing to me all night long. Writing our love song. Girl, I want it, gotta have it. Let the passion take us to a higher place. Making the kind of love we made. There ain't no way, baby, to get me at this house. When you look this good, what could I even think about? Oh, besides turning around and locking the door, watching your red dress fall to the floor. Let's get some candles burning and some records, turning all the lights down low. Take it nice and slow. The way your body's moving, keep doing what you're doing to me all night long. Writing
That was the kind of love we made by Luke Holmes on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. Because song is a new chapter in Luke Holmes' career. Be, because from a 2019 blockbuster, this is what you get. Topping the charts in Australia, Canada, and America. Right. The government has said facing no framework to deal with any new COVID variants, while the COVID-19 response minister Dr. One will out further lockdowns and border closures. A new framework ranges a worst case scenario to a scenario where different variants are circulating at the same time. It will rely on public health measures to avoid vulnerable people, to ensure vulnerable people are protected and avoid disruptions to the health system, education and businesses, as well as disruptions to social lives. It is fair to say that even though our understanding of COVID-19 has been deepened tremendously since 2020, it is still not possible to predict how it will evolve. PL said in a Beehive in Wellington on Wednesday. PL said the nation has an integrated surveillance system based on cutting edge science, including to whole genome sequencing and wastewater testing. PCR test capacity will be retained, and Cabinet has set up task agency assess preparedness to deploy measures to ensure they could be stood up quickly, but more strategic actions like lockdowns and border closures couldn't be rolled out. By giving a fundamental right for reduce need for strict measures, she said. Stretching measures might be needed to buy time more flatten the curve, but as point above a movement restriction. But as they're trying to flatten a curve. Something you'll need to do for a long time opposed to eliminate right, which is short and sharp. Previously, the scenarios may advice being developed overseas. Warfares were planning for the worst and best everything in between as fears had been needed to dominate transmission in waves. It's hard to predict the most likely scenario, but he said it was given a new variant could be more transmissible than Omicron. The BA2 subvariant of Omicron is the most common in New Zealand, but the BA1 variant also circulated, and the BA4 variant was detected for the first time last month. But first, now playing for a variant of high clinical severity and we're vaccinated doesn't come with a lot of protection. First, because it's a variant of low clinical severity and we apply an infection with vaccinated doesn't confer protection. We would see a lot of people being infected again, so high impact with imagine high case numbers with that, he said. But first, now is a variant with high clinical severity, higher than Delta or worse. But with prior infection, vaccination does confer a high degree of immunity, but it's more likely to cause hospitalization and death for vulnerable groups. The fourth scenario is a variant with low severity, low immune invasion, with fifth scenario where several variants are circulating at the same time, he said. But Delta variant was a dominant strain largely ripping through the country, finding a first community case last August. Prior to that, the nation spent 6 months without a single community case. The first Omicron to hit the community came in December when an international DJ tested positive with a virus in Auckland, 12 days after his arrival and 7 days in isolations. New variants make it easier to be infected, like numerous studies shows dose vaccine makes illness more mild. And says the Omicron hit New Zealand after the international test positive, New Zealand went on to have 20,000 COVID-19 cases per day in March, where the New Zealand infections peaked before dwindling down. It is now currently ranging around average 6,000 per day at right now. So given our high vaccination rates, enabled to eliminate new, more transmissible fears like Delta, Omicron, New Zealand, except now we live with a virus, including my mum, who had COVID back in March. She said he's still feeling the effects from it. So it was a horrible experience. Next I will be close to us by Joji.
She'd take the world off my shoulders if it was ever hard to move. She'd turn the rain to a rainbow when I was living in the blue. Why then, if she's so perfect, do I still wish that it was you? Perfect don't mean that it's working, so what can I do when you're outside in my mind? 'Cause sometimes I look in her eyes and that's where I find a glimpse of us. And I try to fall for her touch, but I'm thinking of the way you was. Said I'm fine and said I moved on. I'm only here passing time in her arms, hoping I'll find a glimpse of us. Tell me, save us your glory. Does he laugh the way I did? Is this a part of your story, one that I had never lived? Maybe one day you feel lonely, and in his eyes you'll get a glimpse. Maybe you'll start slipping slowly and find me again when you're outside in my mind. 'Cause sometimes I look in her eyes and that's where I find a glimpse glimpse of us. And I try to fall for her touch, but I'm thinking of the way it was. Said I'm fine and said I moved on. I'm only here passing time in her arms, hoping I'll find a glimpse of us. 'Cause sometimes I look in her eyes, and that's where I find a glimpse of us. And I try to fall for her touch, but I'm thinking of the way it was. Said I'm fine and said I moved on. I'm only here passing time in her arms, hoping I'll find a glimpse of us.
That was Glimpse of Us by Joji on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. Wow. Better who wrote Curious of a selfish and gutless physicist David Close's usually comments that will change, calling more prosecutions. Physicist Betty said in Parliament yesterday, and because business will be prosecuted for anti-competitive behaviour. That's what Morty said at Parliament yesterday.
Just speak a little about the Section 36 change, which is, I think, the big important change, the most important change we're making here. Section 1A of the Act, of the Commerce Act, says that the purpose of the Act is to promote competition in markets for the long-term benefit of consumers within New Zealand. It's very plain. It's focused on the actual state of competition in the market. It's not a theoretical state. It's the actual state and the actual benefit for consumers. And up until now, unfortunately, although Section 36 was intended to strengthen the prohibition against anti-competitive unilateral conduct, as we heard from the Honourable Judith Collins when it was introduced in 1986, it was supposed to prevent firms with substantial market power from harmful competition. It's been clear for a long time that it simply has failed to live up to that. There have been 5 cases taken by the Commerce Commission since 1986, and only 2 of them have been successful. And I think the very fact that they haven't trusted themselves to take more than 5 cases since 1986 speaks volumes in and of itself. And I do want to make it clear the bill doesn't penalise dominant firms for out-competing their rivals through superior practices, better offerings or efficiency in the market. That is not the intention, and the test will be high here still.
So, lots of attendance paid for Razor Draco calls for tougher laws. Rather fear of us directly is various type of crime, but as many of us is ripped off by corporates, flout fair trading rules. So yet appear there's all of its companies are partly nothing to do with their behaviour. Why doesn't Parliament get tough on them with stronger rules to protect us? An MP on each side of the House give fair views under us like we're unaware. Our government believes that New Zealanders deserve a fair deal, that's why we've taken action to better protect consumers, make sure businesses and disadvantage. We all know that overwhelming majority of key businesses operate honestly and responsibly to make sure that businesses like these aren't unfairly held back. We've already taken action to amend the Fair Trading Act to target use of pressure tactics, deception and one-sided contract terms and practices to exploit the vulnerabilities of businesses and consumers. And crazy monetary penalties including for the work strengthening in the comments that can help steer businesses towards better behavior when where it's appropriate. Our government will absolutely take steps to make sure the cost of penalties are higher than any benefit business might see from deciding to deem to break the law. We also believe it is considered that people are paying premium for the basic while supervisors earn $1 million in excess profits. Thanks to a lack of competition, that's why we're taking a first action to fix this either and make sure kids get a fair deal at the checkout. As part of our work to make sure our business practices in New Zealand are conducted fairly and responsibly, we also taken steps to protect vulnerable Kiwis. When we took office in 2017, communities like mine were seeing more and more families become trapped in debt spirals of poverty at the hands of loan sharks and predatory lending. This wasn't okay. There was no question for our government that we needed to crack down on the predators to protect vulnerable Kiwis, so we did. It was also working hard to tackle, eliminate all forms of modern slavery, including forced labour and people trafficking. As a Labour government, we always put people at the centre of everything we do, and are proud that in addition to having a strong plan to build more inclusive society, fair pay for workers, and greater economic security for all. And also listen to communities and respond quickly. There's more work still need to do, but we're making good progress. Just with National Olympic Corridor, while most New Zealanders might not be a victim of serious crime, that doesn't mean we should ignore the rising crime. It has been reported on an almost daily basis. Increase in drive-by shootings, gang tensions and ramblings are making queues anxious, and rightly so. Changing the municipal police doesn't change the facts. We're waking up to almost every morning a news of another shooting. It is only a matter of a day before an innocent person gets seriously injured or killed in a crossfire. New Zealanders are also anxious about cost of living crisis. Corporates who seek to push the boundaries of fair trade will inflate queues based on false advertising and misleading sales must be punished. In the past 12 months, everyday grocery prices increased significantly, up 6.8%, and carriers are feeling a pinch. Any supermarket or retail ally who seeks to gain profit out of misleading consumers should be investigated by the Commerce Commission and, if appropriate, pushed accordingly. However, reality of the situation that are in this cost of living crisis isn't being fought up by retailers by the Fair Trading Act. It is government's poorly targeted and out of control spending. For 250 basis points increases to the official gas rate this year are due large part of poor quality governance spending, which driving inflation much faster than wages. The responsibility and the blame for that lies at the feet of the government. The family with $700,000 mortgages on a hook of $40,000 more a year on interest. Family with start of last year. They will make life difficult for many families in New Zealand. I fear there's more to come. Ultimately, corporates who fleece New Zealanders under these tight economic conditions should be investigated and punished accordingly. Although the actions are selfish and gutless, they are not what are going to hinder growth in this country. It's the government. At the time when New Zealand needs strong leadership to get through our current economic situation, the current Labour government has no plan. They just should adopt National's 5-point plan to fight inflation, refocus the Reserve Bank on price stability, stop adding unnecessary costs to businesses and employers, reduce the bottlenecks that are holding back growth, including addressing labour shortages, restore the discipline to government spending, inflation, adjust tax brackets to increase carers' disposable income. So, if national leader and government does totally national will probably create a regulation to ban misleading sales or advertising. By businesses, if they do so, they could end up facing a massive amounts of fine or probably 10 years in jail at the least. So the next song will be it was speech by Perry by Tommy Villas on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM.
Can't believe my eyes. What a ride, take me back inside. Take me for the night, look alive. Taking all the sights, very breasts and thighs. Extra wide, extra smooth and nice. Extra looks for life, yeah. I see you watching me walking and I know he like peaches, but he know that this one is special. Come feel this, he getting close to the threshold. I got him, but say he make me some mayo, 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 mayo.
To the
There was Beach Bay. Perry and Tommy Felix on Sheldopedia on Area FM. Today's hearing of a House Select Committee probing the January 6th attack on the US Capitol has ended what appears the most single emotional segment hearings to date. A mother and daughter team of a former Georgia poll workers would be Freeman and Shane Moss. This guy was like being singled out as part of former President Donald Trump's conspiracy theories. The election was stolen and the poll workers like Moss and Freeman were involved in a plot. In the weeks following the 2020 election, the Trump campaign has publicly accused the two women of committing election fraud in Fulton County, home of Atlanta, and Rudy Giuliani, one of Trump's lawyers, at one point claimed to be mother and daughter who are more positive about the USB6 full of soft advice like fire. For also heroin or cocaine was actually a gingerbread, according to Moss. During Trump's infamous call with Georgia Secretary of State Wade Ravensburger, in which Trump pledged a letter to find enough votes to alter the election result. He has mentioned two women aiding sabotage versus Burger also delivered testimony at the Tuesday's hearing. Result of racial harassment that ruined two women's lives. Moss decided to received lots of reason wishing death upon me. Tell me that, I'll be in jail with my mother and saying things, be glad it's 2020, not 1920. She went to hiding as she gained 60 pounds from the streets. Trump supporters attacked her grandmother's home, begging and exclaiming, "I'll come in and make the citizens arrest." Freeman, you saw your part, you surprisingly wear shirts for your nickname Lady Ruby on him. Now she did vote in a 5-year taking position. I won't introduce myself by name anymore. She continued, "There's nowhere I feel safe. Nowhere did I feel to have a president of the United States target you. The president of the United States is supposed to represent every American, not to target one. But he targeted me, Lady Lou, be a small business owner, a mother, and a proud American citizen who stopped and helped vote the country run an election in the middle of a pandemic. The testimony revealed by real damage done to human lives by lies spouted by Trump and his allies. Also put a something deeper the way his attacks on individual political chip away at the very foundations of our democracy. Civil servants across the country, from ordinary people like Moss and Freeman to make officials to harassment speakers, to step up and make sure elections run lawfully and smoothly by taking the event so personally. Trump and his anti-democratic allies are raising the costs. Such civic participation, the door for MAGA, difficult to infiltrate our elections infrastructure 2022 and beyond. Undermining democracy, one poll worker at a time, while Moss and Freeman with special targets of Trump and Giuliani, they were not only power to experience vicious harassment in the last election cycle. Our task to our survey had 70% of America's local election officials experienced threats to the jobs during the 2020 election cycle. David Picker, Executive Director for the Center of Election Infrastructure Research, told me last year this was very far from normal prior to 2020. It's not even accurate to say that the election workers was where prior to the 2020. It was rare and virtually non-existent. He said, "This is beyond anything that we ever seen. Severing face with a direct result of Trump's signaling the public out was the case with Freeman, Moss, and others, officials like Ravensburger." Philadelphia City Commissioner L. Schmidt, a Republican responsible for election oversight, became a lightning rod when Trump tweeted someone was being used big time by fake news media to cover election fraud. He received waiver threats. Deputy Commissioner Seth Bluestein was subjected to anti-Semitic abuse. Schmidt's wife got emails and with phrases such as Albert Renner will be fatally shot and heads on spikes and treasonous. Schmidt and family left the home for side reasons. As election, Schmidt announced he will not run for re-election in 2023. In the other cases, presidential involvement with certain site harassment, Trump considers the Senator Sweden election was stolen and the local election officials were off the part of the steal. He clarified which hardcore Trump supporters felt empowered to take matters in their own hands, and further non-secular swing states interested Trump. One of his supporters sent a series of threatening messages to election officials in late 2020, warning of them, among other things, that your days are effing mumbled or flippin' mumbled, because I'm not allowed to swear in my show, sorry. The harasser obviously did in not being able to Trump to overturn the 2020 election, but has done immense physical harm to elected workers like Boston Freeman, who work difficult jobs for little pay. Just reading a survey of election officials conducted by the Early Voting Health Information Center, we college found a fair quarter of respondents failing to retire before the 2020 presidential election. One for reasons decided was political environment, meaning that political idea of each other attended friends were made them want out. When they got a public whether means a person of user expert in a specialized in technical areas vanishes, one departure of hateful might be managed for mass vaccinations and environment. And this is specific minded from stupid to fail with vaccines can be catastrophic to election management. The special given Trump allies a wicked and CD supporters to kill election laws such as situations with one Republican investigation documented for a measure of a president's strategy. Beginning a coordinated on former Trump advisor C. Bennett's radio channel in which Republicans began flooding with faux local voting presidents with finders who could shape a counting process. Races in the next election cycle have found thousands of Republicans have signed up for these roles since Bennett's campaign began. No similar surge on the Democratic side. Your best case scenario if a power gets created measures more problems if a power president and voting because just told me. For worst case scenario if we lose it but we will have if a experience get replaced by hackering, more people will believe that Trump is deliver the legitimate candidate that I want to see one elected security analysis of really worried about the 2022 midterms, particularly when the campaigns of the harassment and 2020 will be repeated. Fear will be a good reason to think they will be given a majority of Republicans to believe Trump's features about fighting combat electoral system. There is a very chance that most in favor will be a last part of workers who have lives abandoned as part of Trump's quest for power. For living possibility of China of civic-minded Americans could be debilitating for democracy. Hope least I would be worried about the 2022 midterm elections because it can be a bit. Angela said, new freaking whenever Democrats or Republicans will take control of a house. The survey spread by Emily Nash.
Fall short, your gaze upon my shoulders, all gold, heartbroken from the pressure. All I need is someone to stand by. Said all I need is one more sleepless night. Awake with you till the light puts through the clouds, rolling around.
Feels spread by Illumination on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. Right, we're gonna tell. The very beautiful small towns in the world. Chicago, Japan. 1650. To the winter day, invited Chicago also got better a deal of Alpine Crusader on a cold, clear weather that it in the top of mountain. This is almost like to look like gingerbread house edgy factory because of cricket buildings covered in white. Feels like a white gingerbread man at all. That's the Corn Pop Chicken Power Power 5991. Neither each I read what a better river in Southern Bohemia. Has been better of those who utilize the city of my wealth of which is Gothic and backward editor would be so much on the feathers and prison couples. It's all will charm, full of technologies constantly as well as color appearing by the periodic greens and pinks. Santa Medellina, Italy. It was stormed by Jason Kippies, Greenwell in Hills, and Silver Alpine James in South Tyrol. Originally down Coast Highway through the southern part of Austria is given a historical way of saying read in German, Italian, and the local language of Latin. Been of Canada, normal primary skills of the rock about how it is better feels magical when even off his powder on the ground. Barrels and muscles deco energy near prove about a fuse. It is like the traverse and natural saw appears and excited alpine also can hot springs. Fried chicken into a Forest Hillside it looks like more of a castle than it does a casual place to stay. Sideways Cornwall, UK. First former fishing village of Live out of Town 26 has been was by the Kevin Caldworth and the climate for the team and the take out on its own. But we are just for Heli nets for going and regions line the high level inland seas on one side, each other two quick waters on the other. Yes, a chatted liver of our Hitler typically conscious pretty cross was a loss of other studios. Just by the end he got Vina, but there's no choice of the Asian mountain towns of Vietnam, Vita, Persever, Najada Church was the capital of medieval Bosnia. Your Davis of Asia held a castles for one of a groovy displays of below. But shares the great of a natural receiver to flow of waterfall spills over sheep during the covers of the river and river rivers. Joshua is a point by by waters makes them for Bosnia's peace white water rafting. Finding to quit down, you brought over 7 hours always try to snag for window seat. The airport is serious of quite the one because the seat did see in the studio which winter most ridiculous and the northern Maine snakes. overshadowed by Ephesians 40 quays Tarawa one against which invocation questions the data see next to the machine light where there is a penis to swim in the shadow of a great big ginormous ping against a blue sky. With a great city of a world's towards waterfall fire. Fred ever was one of the waterfall lines here will traverse middle ranks by 1,500 feet of up inside of a crop west against the waterfall in the front of you. There's the other people that were like PP, Thailand, Waverworth, Washington, Pate, Brazil, Stimenzita, Georgia, and Shaoxing, China, Helset, Austria, Canada, Colombia, Sucre in Rain, Norway, and Venezuela, Soris, Republic of the Tuba, Germany, Southern Russia, EC, France, Port Douglas in Australia, and recorded by in Puerto Rico, right running up a hill by Kai Bush on Sheldopedia FM, released tonight by 15 minutes ago, fetch was taken from 95 album House of Love, Far. The song peaked at number 3 in the UK, number 6 in Australia, and number 2 here in New Zealand, but both songs shares a massive resurgence in popularity, taking popularity to the whole new level, with his inclusion in Stranger Things. Soundtrack so found a new generation for his younger audience. So far, it reached number 1 for the first time in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and reaching the top 10 for the first time in the US and Canada. So here's that.
It doesn't hurt me. Do you wanna feel
There was Forever Hell with Deal God by Kai Bush on Sheldopedia on Era FM. It was a excellent song, fair it is. Kai Bush has been releasing music since 1988. Wuthering Heights, which was member in England, Australia, New Zealand, and never Babushka, which nearly topped the charts in Australia back in 1980. So, Vance Rush would later inspire Kai Bush for her musical works. The fact of the day is global could drive extension mini 106 animals and plant species. What we need to keep better protection on climate change right now to stop this from happening. So that's it for Sheldopedia. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye bye. And also have a good matariki.